goes to a first visit is a senior gardener or a field supervisor. Sometimes they go alone. It's preferred that a field supervisor goes with the senior gardener for the first visit, or the senior gardener has a helper or a trainee for that day. So, first thing you do is you pull up the address, you navigate to the house, you park nice and somewhat relatively close to the property, and you look over to see what plan the customer is paying for. So we have two different types of plans with two different visit schedules. So what we have is a basic plan and a full plan. Basic plan, it's mainly just the essential stuff. So the mowing the lawn, edging the lawn, weeding, but no hand weeding and no weeding in the lawns. Spraying if the customer is comfortable with Roundup. Hedge trimming and blowing. The full plan has option for organic weeding, which is hand weeding, hand trimming, which is a more time-consuming process. They get twice a year weed and feed, fertilizing. They have the option also to basically fully customize their plan. So deadheading is included. That is considered hand trimming. That is roses. That is the dieback from plants like flax and daylilies. What is not included in any of the plans is rose pruning, like cutting them back from the winter, and tree pruning. Every gardener is provided with a ladder and ladder training. The height which you can reach is 6 foot. So what you can reach with your arm length and what with the extension pole hedge trimmer is the limit to which you can trim. So once you identify what plan they have and what services you can provide for them for that day, you knock on the door and you introduce yourself as an employee of ezhome. If you're a supervisor, you say, I'm the supervisor for your region. If you're a senior gardener, say, I'm a senior gardener, and here's my helper, or this is my supervisor, that type of stuff. When you look at the plan, it has their first and last name, so you know, hello, I am Marcel Ventura with ezhome. Nice to meet you, Mr. and Mrs., and their last name. I have my task list for today, but if you'd like to walk the property so we can set your preferences, whether or not you like hand trimming or natural look, or any type of preferences that I can put in my notes to make it clear for any future gardeners that will be on your property. So when you walk the property, that's your opportunity to set the expectation for what they're paying for and what they'll be getting. If they have a full package, it's very easy. You can make it very clear that you can hand trim, you can do the deadheading and all that stuff. If they have a basic package, it's a little bit more challenging. You have to set the expectation that this is what they're paying for, and this is what they could be getting if they were to upgrade their plan. Customer has signed up for organic hand weeding and you arrive at the property and it's what we call maintenance ready, that's not an issue. If you arrive at the property and there are weeds everywhere, and it is your opportunity there to set the expectation that it's not possible to do organic hand weeding on their property. And it's your opportunity to suggest at least a one-time weed whack and spray to get the property maintenance ready. That way, going forward, it is a feasible option to have organic hand weeding. If you arrive at a property and they give you double time first visit, if you look at the property and it's going to take 2 or more hours to get the property back to maintenance ready, that's where you have to talk with the customer. If you're not able to meet with the customer, leave them a voicemail. Call your field supervisor if you're unsure how to quote the remaining time on the property, but it's your opportunity to identify how much more time it's going to take. So if it's going to take 2 additional man hours, 4 additional man hours, up to, I've encountered 24 man hours to get a property back into shape. You submit it in the issue section under quotes. Most likely you're going to focus on the front yard if the property is really that out of hand. You focus your time on getting the front yard maintenance ready. That way it's a way to illustrate this is what your whole property can look like. And then they get, here's your first visit email, and then they get a follow-up quote about this is what it's going to take to get your property completely cleaned up. So for me, as a field supervisor, I say, I'm actually the supervisor for your region. I'm helping out today with regular services. Maybe possibly next week I'll be back, but most likely I won't be. With the senior gardeners, this is part of the senior gardener's responsibility to do first visits and then to maintain it weekly until it's something what we call maintenance ready. That way it can then be handed off to a regular gardener's route. For this reason exactly, senior gardeners' routes are not going to be optimized. It is part of my job and the account manager's job to schedule them so they make somewhat sense as far as cities go, but there's a lot more driving and it's a lot more scattered for this reason. So once a house has been maintained by a senior gardener for 2 to 4 weeks and is matured, maintenance ready, then it will be transferred into another route where it actually is optimized, where it makes the most sense. In the Gardener app, in the issues section, there's a section called Suggest Additional Reoccurring Services, and that is where you're going to put a lot of notes. The customer prefers to prune roses themselves. The customer prefers lawn being mowed every other visit. The customer prefers hand weeding in only the flower bed, but all other areas are okay for Roundup. Examples like these. It depends on what makes most sense. If it's 1 or 2 notes, that's easier done in the issue section. If it is a long list, it's sometimes better to sit down and write out an email. Or make a phone call. That way it can be clear, and while it's fresh, it can be added into the customer's notes.